So they'll be calling you a radical. This is a giant fucking story in my world, in our world, in the world. This is a massive story because I don't think people know who this guy is and what his life was about and how powerful in our world this dude was. Chris Crane is dead. What? Yeah. I cannot believe it. He's only 65 years old. He is dead. It blows my mind, actually, from what I understand, perfectly good health. I don't think there was any illness or any sickness that I know of. They said short illness, drops dead. Do I think there's more to this story? Oh, yeah. Big time. So, Chris Crane is David Axelrod and Rahm Emanuel. They are the nuclear energy crooks. As you know, I call the crime syndicate. So, a lot of people don't know this. This is who propped up Obama, the nuclear industry, the Chicago crew. So, Kevin Blanch, the anti-nuclear activist, I'm the guy that leaked out all the goods that got sent up or shut down the greatest grassroots accomplishment in history. Now, I don't think people know how powerful this guy is. I'll tell you how powerful this dude was, and I mean powerful. Now, Biden called Axelrod a prick. What a insult to a prick. He's way worse than a prick, Axelrod. That's a piece of dog shit. So is Rahm Emanuel. So, Chris Crane, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. I think there's more to this story. They say he just had a short illness, dead at 65, and I don't think he had health issues. I think he was a healthy guy. I mean, the whole story stinks to me. Now, I have lots of ties with these people, and I'll tell you what. So, after Fukushima, on the heels of Fukushima, the corruption inside the nuclear energy crime syndicate was unwound because of Kevin Blanch and my anonymous crew. We had all the goods on them at San Onofre. We got it shut down, and after that domino got attacked, they were falling fast. And so he's the CEO of Exelon. Exelon owns all the nuclear energy. I mean, so Hillary Clinton was running ads in swing states. That's the thing. There's only a few swing states, so we really don't know what's going on geopolitically most of the time in most states. I didn't even know this, that she was running ads against Obama saying he was propped up by the nuclear energy crime syndicate. Excellent. So, this is a giant fucking story. So, it blows my mind, actually. I think there's way more to this story. Now, I don't know. Now, I'm sad to see he's passed away that young. I mean, what did Jesus say? Forgive them for they know what they do. Well, they know what they do, but I'm learning to love my enemies. I don't care. I mean, my worst enemy, I don't wish early death on. I don't play that way. I don't believe that way. I don't believe that anybody deserves that. But he's dead. So, they're just going down, left and right. San Onofre down, that was the first one, and then Dwayne Arnold. Just Calhoun, Pilgrim, Oyster Creek, Palisades, just Yankee. Just falling, all of them by the dozens. They're done. So, New York, Indian Point. Whew, all that work I did out there for the years, talk about dangerous. So, they're on the rope. So, there's other reactors upstate New York, big reactors. There's Guyana, there's Fitzpatrick, and there's 9 Mile Island, which is 3 times worse than 3 Mile. There's another one that's gone down post. Lake Barrett took him all that years, the corruption of the cover-up, and he's your guy at the subcommittee. The cycle of corruption doesn't end. But so, it's over for him. And I'm, traveling around the country, and I'm inside state houses just fighting with them because they're in panic mode. Because it's done. Kevin Blanch and crew, we're just kicking the shit out of them. We have the truth on our side. Before they circled the wagons on the internet, they went after me, slandered me, did everything they could freaking the nuclear energy crime syndicate did. So, out of nowhere, they announced we're shutting them all down in New York. There's those 3 reactors upstate have multiple reactors, 3 plants. It's over. Then bingo, bango, mongo, out of nowhere, Exelon says we're buying them for peanuts on the dollar. They've already announced we're done. It's over. They buy them for chump change. Then right after they buy it for change, status king Cuomo, bank bailout on chemo. Cuomo, this is the most corrupt thing, one of the most corrupt things I've ever seen in my life. He says, no, we're bailing them out. 7.6, not million, billion. What? 7.6 billion. Now, Rahm Emanuel, you know, is the ambassador to Japan. Why would he? Does he speak Japanese? Because he was in the Situation Room on the cover-up of Fukushima. I will testify to that. You know, I've read the transcript in there. Classified, I can't present it well, but John Holdren, he let the rabbit out of the bag. I put her up to those questions. Why would he be the ambassador? I just told you why. I thought Caroline Kennedy, remember when she announced she introduced her grandson who looks just like JFK? Speaking of JFK, so I'm in Italy at my daughter's wedding, you know, at New York City. You know, all my years in New York City. So in New York, they got it through, and we would go door to door. I was heavily involved with everybody, got serious about it, to get wind and solar for your electricity. You had to pay a little extra. Everybody signed up. Everybody signed up, and that was just flush with money. Of course, status king Cuomo saw it and stole it. So the whole state-by-state bailout, which didn't exist, all of a sudden, who's the first one? New York. Exelon. They buy them. It's like the dirtiest corrupt deal in history. And the city that never sleeps, asleep on it. Not 7.6. Didn't go through the legislative process. Didn't go. This King Cuomo says, here's 7.6 billion. Oh, I'm fighting them. I got my sign. I'm in New York City. I'm at Times Square, right there where the ball is. Toshiba. I'm battling them. Kevin David versus Nuclear Goliath. 7.6 billion. So I'm at my daughter's wedding in Italy. I've been in Italy for a while. I've been all over Europe for a couple months. And I was at my daughter's wedding. She got married to a Italiano. You know, she worked for Fendi then. He's a Gucci dude. Whoa. Should have seen that wedding. You see my gypsy. So I'm hanging around Italy. By the way, I love the Italians as far as nuclear. Go ask the mob about nuclear. Go ask them. Remember they're trying to bring in their nuclear waste here? That's where I was at protesting Mike Lee bringing in the nuclear waste to Energy Solutions in Utah. They said they're going to fire him back up, and I talk about the mob. So the anti-nuclear is Italy, the mob. The pro-nuclear mob in the United States is pro-nuclear. I mean, it blows my mind. So I'm hanging around Italy for a long time, even after the wedding, a long time. My daughter and husband go on their honeymoon. So I'm worn out. I've just got a brand new heart valve. I've had open heart surgery the first time. I'm full of cancers, you know, fighting for my life. I was so lucky I was able to dance in the training and see with my daughter at that wedding. I decided, I got to come home. So I'm in Milan, of all places. And I come home. And I go to get on the airplane. And, of course, what they always do to me. You, over here. It's supposed to be random, of course. Only guy. You over here. Into the little room. Yeah, I'm used to it. I know what's coming. The interrogation. Constant in those days. It still is. And so I'm in there. I'm sitting in there. And next thing you know, here comes another guy in there. I'm like, oh, it's my new son-in-law. I'm like, what? He says, what are you doing? I says, I'm just flying. What? You're on the same flight as us? And they pulled him to the side. What's the fucking odds? You know, it's a huge plane. I'm like, oh my God. So the interrogation. Get onto the fucking plane. Fly to New York City. JFK. So it's just jammed to the gills. It's a mess. I have my San Onofre shirt on. You know, the one I used to wear. That's the very first one, by the way. I have it. So I have it on, and I walk through the airport, and there's a New York City cop standing there because it's just jammed packed. It's getting pretty unruly in there because it's so crowded. And this cop looks and sees that shirt. He says, God, we got to save that. Save what? He's sending off for the nuke reactor. I says, a little too late, buddy. I says, that was shut down 4 years ago. Well, we could bring it back. No, it ain't coming back. I'm like, what do you care? Well, God, well, them good union jobs. What do you... Well, there you go, the mob in New York. I mean, why do you think there's still garbage all over the fucking streets? I mean, New York City's dirty. Always has been dirty. So, status quo Como, bank bailout on chemo. Where's your sign? I got to find that. It's missing. My gray sign's been all over the world. I made in Vienna. This says status King Como, bank bailout on chemo. Remember, I used to hang it up in Idaho on the signs on the freeway. It said no vacancy. So I walk in, I'm waiting. There's a dude standing there, got a hoodie on. I can spot it. It's all about the shoulders, right? I'm like, who's this dude? This dude looks like an athlete to me. You know, we're waiting, killing time. So I walk up and just start talking to him. I says, what's a dude? You New York? Yeah. What are you headed to Salt Lake for? He says, I play for the Jazz. I just got drafted. Oh, yeah? Who are you? He says, I'm Donovan Mitchell. I says, oh, I remember when you used to play in New York. I watched you play high school. I lost track of his career at Louisville. You're playing for the Jazz? Yeah. We talked for a long time. I says, dude, this is a true story. I told him, I says, did you watch Kevin Durant versus the Jazz and those guys fucking just going at him? I says, the Utah Jazz fans used to be the best in the world. They suck now. And there's a lot of racism and a lot of stuff you're going to deal with here in Utah. I says, you remember those fans just chirping to Durant in, you know, I think the Jazz was the 7 or 8 seed and playing the Warriors in the game. And Durant scored like the last 18 points of the game. And he says, I do remember that game. He says, I says, you remember those fans chirping at him, talking shit? He says, yeah. And he looked right at me and he says, don't feed the lion. I'm like, oh boy. So basketball metaphors matter. So come home. So the bank bailout, I'm like, this is the dirtiest fucking thing I've ever seen. So I'm in New York just fighting this bailout. What's her name's had the truck with the big screw on it. They tried. Never did get any legislative process through. Cuomo just handed it to him, status king Cuomo. Talk about dirty, corrupt. So this group these are the three. These are the three. Axelrod, Emmanuel, Chris Crane. He's the CEO of Exelon, which is the nuclear. I mean, they went at me so hard, it's unbelievable. But I don't play that way. I don't wish this. I'm sad to see that he passed away this young, this early. But they said he had a short illness. What are you saying? I mean, I've always paid attention to him. I didn't think he was sick. He looked fine to me. It actually blows my mind. So he's dead at 65 years old. I'm 64. You know, is that old? Hell no, it's not old. Especially a guy like him. What kind of money did he have? Oh, probably hundreds of millions of dollars. So, you know, it's an insane story. I could write a whole book just on it. And then after the New York bailout, they started going house to house. I'm fighting them. I mean, one after another. Some would say no. We've had governor's veto, but they came to Utah, of all places, and we don't even have nuclear energy reactors. But they bailed out them and gave money to NuScale. Same lawyers. You know, they went to Jersey. They're like, oh, no. They went to Connecticut. Oh, yeah, they bailed them out. They went to Chicago, you know, back to their home. They all over, state to state, house to house. The IEA international subsidy. The Department of Energy, the billions and trillions they flooded to the nuclear industry. You know, then the state bailouts on Balco, on chemo, bank bailout on chemo. They're going to have a bake sale at your local PTA. You realize how many fucking trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars has been wasted on nuclear? I see there's an article out now. Yes, the Department of Energy has crossed the 1 billion mark for giving universities pro-nuclear energy grants. And they're proud of that? What do we get for that? What do we get for that? All these small SMR reactors that they've been dreaming on since the 50s. Do we have any? No, never will. The nuclear energy fairy tale has gone on for the most expensive energy on the face of the history of the planet. Yes. The dirtiest. I mean, I go back to Lewis Strauss, who was right, especially in his older years. He turned anti, and he's the guy that coined the term too cheap to meter. He even said, oh, was I wrong on that? You know, he pivoted. You know, too cheap to meter. Do you know what Vogel cost in Georgia? How about the Savannah River fucking Mox Fuel Tower to Babel in South Carolina? You know, money missing all over, but why will no media report it? They're afraid of the nuclear energy crime syndicate. This is a gigantic story. Did he just drop dead out of nowhere? Apparently. I don't know. That's what they're reporting. You know, I call bullshit, but I don't know, and I'm sad to see he's gone. I really am. I don't wish this kind of young death on anyone. I really don't. I don't believe in it. I mean, I think it's actually sad. You know, it reminds me somewhat of Sam. Just right next door to Illinois, over there in Ohio. You know, the Attorney General charged him, the Ohio public servant, you know, the public commission, he charged him and he committed suicide. I believe he was 74. But Chris, at 65? This story blows my mind. It's a giant story. Now, I don't know this to be true, but people that I know, and I have a lot of connections, trust me, I got connections everywhere, said that Obama has completely turned on, Biden has completely turned on Obama. Now, Biden pro-nuclear? Oh, hell yeah. The whole Fukushima, but they say he's pivoted and turned, and you can look it up, it's out there, that he said these different hard issues that were really difficult, including the Fukushima. Obama was lazy and ignorant. And he said he would just hand them to Biden here. And all the dirty work was just handed to Biden. And I think he's woke up to the nuclear, but he still porks them. I mean, he's going to bail out Palisades. I mean, another one. I mean, it's over the top. So there's no difference between Trump and Biden and, you know, a bummer dumber. Well, Bush for that matter. I mean, what a decade. So this story is gigantic. People don't know about the Exelon, the powerhouse in the nuclear energy crime syndicate. They are the nuclear energy crime syndicate. There's no doubt about it. It's been widely reported and investigated inside Chicago for years about the pork that flew out from freaking Illinois. Now, I see the governor of Illinois has vetoed, you know, the selfish, ignorant people who elect selfish, ignorant leaders, you know, the House. They vetoed. So they vetoed in Kentucky on this SMR scam. But this bank bailout in New York started this whole thing, this bailout. And it was Chris who did it. And, you know, David Axelrod Emmanuel. I mean, they're Exelon. Exelon is it. He's the CEO. I mean, there's been nobody more powerful in the nuclear energy complex on how this is pivoted. He's an historic figure. He really is. So, giant story popped up this morning. I'm like, oh my God, no. I couldn't believe it. I still don't believe it. 65 years old, they said short illness and he just died, got pneumonia. What the hell? No, 65? You know, so, by the way, throw your rubber ducky in at Fukushima, Japan. I haven't heard much from Emmanuel since he was really going crazy fighting with the Chinese over the Fukushima dynamic. Remember Caroline Kenner was the ambassador. Remember on the 50th anniversary of JFK's funeral, she introduced the grandson. And they both went on their anti-nuclear rant, backing on nuclear energy. Woo! Take them off. I see they're trying to get the bill through, and there's a Democratic legislator I believe she's from Colorado, and the other one, their congresswoman and congressman are getting through a new bill. Now this is how corrupt politics are in the United States. They both agreed on one thing. We agreed on one thing. We can't agree on the nuclear energy. We have to prop it up even more. We agreed that Price-Anderson, which is the Immunity Act, you can't sue people like this because the nuclear falls on task to re-up it for 40 years. It expires this year. It was re-upped for 20. What's Price-Anderson? That's called the Immunity Act. It was a congressional act passed in the 1950s to promote nuclearism and the immunity. So you can't sue them. Any problem, anything, whatever, they all rely on it. That's why they keep going public. They keep doing all this thing for these fairy tales that don't exist. They hide behind that congressional act, which is total bullshit. They agreed to up it for 40 years, and they said, well, we got to wait for a bigger bill to get through so we can attach it to it. Because that's how they did it last time in 2005. I was the only one fighting. I was in D.C. fighting it. Rub your dry cast container. So this is a giant story. I don't think people realize how big it is and how powerful of a person he was on this globe. This guy is one historic person, giantly historic. The nuclear energy industry is completely done without him. You know, he stood up to me, and, you know, and I'm David. He was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I got wiped out and slandered and taken on. You know, what did Jesus say? Love your enemies. Yeah, I'm getting there. I don't wish this on anyone. I think it's actually sad and tragic. But I really believe this, and I've said this for years, people that get involved with the nuclear energy crime syndicate, it doesn't end well. You know, Oppenheimer, Pop, when everybody said no doubt. You know how young Oppenheimer was? You do know what he died from. Oh, yeah. I mean, I go back to Lady Judge. She was all over me, whatever, you know. Remember, I got cancer in 2011, AML. Was given 2 months to live, and I've been in a really brutal fight for 12 years. I mean, really, really brutal. I mean, I've had open heart surgery twice. Been something else, some kind of fight. What a giant story. What a beautiful day here on the pond. I'm sad to see he's gone. Honestly, yeah. Because I always thought it would play out and he and I could have a conversation about this. Nobody's more powerful than this guy. Nobody. You know, mortal. This guy is more influential to our world than anyone. I cannot think of anybody more influential and more powerful than him. Nobody. You know, the whole bank bailout in New York, that's just the tip of the iceberg is his work as the pro-nuker. I mean, he is the most powerful human being since Oppenheimer as far as the nuclear complex. Which came first, the nuclear chicken or the egg? There's nobody more powerful than him. Nobody. Not even Axelrod. Axelrod was their flunky. Emanuel's an old flunky. Rahm Emanuel and him, you know, close friends, you know, partners, business. Yeah, they're excellent. Nobody, and do not kid yourself, Rahm Emanuel was one powerful dude. You know, and they took me on. They took me on. Oh boy, did they take me on. I broke out my Steve Smith jersey because small, whew, that's one badass dude like Kevin Lynch. Or Kevin reached into the bag and he slung the stone. The pro-nuclear energy kingpin of all kingpins. Nobody more powerful than him. Nobody more, even since Oppenheimer himself. Chris is dead. Wow. I saw this morning, and I never fell over. I've always thought that he and I would have a good conversation one day at a Senate hearing, in a congressional hearing, over Fukushima and the bailout in New York and, you know, the whole Exelon deal. I always felt that he and I would someday be together in some kind of symposium and have a conversation and talk. I always felt that. I really did. You know, one person really battled Exelon's whole, you know, thing post Fukushima. Well, I did even before Fukushima. Kevin Lynch. He's a powerful dude, man. Really powerful dude. I can't think of anybody more powerful. He's most likely who put Barack Obama in office. You know, of course, Obama wasn't what we thought he was he? You know, Fukushima. And Biden called Axelrod a prick. What an insult to a prick. Chris Crane is dead. Wow. I still can't believe it. Stand tuned.